Welcome on into the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast. This is episode number 61 of season 2025. And today is our AFLW episode of the week. We're going to be doing a round one review. We'll go through all 9 matches from the first round of the AFLW season. And then we'll do a quick preview at the end, previewing this weekend's 9 matches coming up, as well as our tips, how they went last week, and all our tips for this weekend's action. So stick around, enjoy. This is the All Aussie Rules Footy Podcast. We do multiple episodes every single week for the rest of the AFLW season. We'll be doing 2 episodes every week. Monday will be the AFL Men's episode, and then on Thursday of every single week for the next 16 to 17 weeks will be the AFLW episode. Your one-stop shop for all your footy content, All Aussie Rules. All over the internet, all over socials, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it, we got it. So, All Aussie Rules, check it out. Let's jump into the games. There's no point on plottering about. Let's see what we've got from the opening round. First game was Carlton Collingwood, Icon Park, just like 10 years ago. And just like 10 years ago, Carlton get the reasonably comfortable win in the end after a little bit of a good start from Collingwood. It all turned pretty quickly. Collingwood kicked the first 2 through Sabrina Frederick, getting the first goal of the AFLW season 10 season. Alana Porter then got one, and then it was all Carlton from pretty much that point on. Mia Austin got one. Then Tara Bahana got one. Poppy Schultz on debut kicked one. Aaron Fitzpatrick got a couple, one in the second and one in the third. The one highlight probably for Collingwood was Ash Centra getting her first goal on debut, the number 1 draft pick. But it was just Carlton, and more Carlton, really. They ended up winning 45-21. As you can see, if you're watching this one and not just listening, the team ratings are on screen. Carlton a 61.06, a really, really solid number, really good start to their year. Collingwood a 45.82. They really struggled to keep up with them in many areas of this game. Our best and fairest, I know it says Brownlow there, I adjusted it later in the weekend. B&F votes for this game. Mimi Hill gets the 3. I think she was absolutely outstanding. Ended up with a lot of touches. I think 32, a lot of them in the first half. 6 clearances. Really good game. Aaron Fitzpatrick kicked those 2 really good goals. Ran, carried, did a good job, I think, in this game. Gets 2 votes. And Brittany Benici for Collingwood was their best player. 21 touches with 15 tackles. A lot of tackles by Brittany Benici. Anything else worth noting from this game? First of all, I guess MVP votes. As with the men's competition, top 5 players for both teams get votes every single week. Winning team gets 10, 8, 6, 4, 2 for their top 5. And then for the losing team, everyone gets half. So best gets 5, then 4, 3, 2, and 1. Mimi Hill was the highest rated player in this match. 105.92 was the All Aussie Rules rating, so Mimi gets the 10. Jessica Good was Carlton's next best with 8 votes. Harriet Cordner gets 6 votes, was solid. Brianne Harrington gets the 4, and as we said, Tara Bohana kicked a goal, was really handy up forward, gets the 2. For Collingwood, it's Brittany Benici, 5, clearly their best player. Michaela Khan was really in and under all game, played a good game as well, gets 4. Imogen Barnett gets the 3 votes for her role in the ruck, as that number 1 ruck in this one, with Sabrina going to full forward this season so far. And what else have we got? 2 for Ruby Schleicher. Her rating was a fair way off. The top 3 Collingwood were up there with the top 3 Carlton players in ratings, but then Carlton had probably the next 7 best players on the ground. Ruby Schleicher was a 72.32, and 1 vote goes to the debutant, Violet Patterson, who was really courageous throughout this game and kept coming back, even though copped a big knock early. So basically, long and short of this, I think the top ends of both teams were pretty even. It was just the fact that the 7th best through 13th best player on the field were all Carlton, as well as 15, 16, 17. So they had 10 out of 11 players in that period of rankings in the game, whereas Collingwood down towards the bottom from 28th best on ground down to 38th. They had 10 out of 11 down there. So that's the difference in this game, I think. Just the middle ranges of the team. Carlton just got a lot more out of their team than Collingwood did in this one. We'll move into the other Friday night game. It was West Coast Gold Coast over in the West, and the Eagles got their season off to a flyer with the win over Gold Coast. A lot of debutants in this one as well. Ella Roberts was absolutely outstanding in that first quarter. Tore the game apart, kicking both goals in the first quarter, as well as being involved in absolutely everything. There then wasn't another goal all the way through until the third quarter. But the third quarter was Lucia Painter kicking 3 goals in the third quarter. And that's where they finished. Gold Coast got 2 goals for the match, one early in the third, one early in the fourth. One of those to Havana Harris on debut, who I think was absolutely outstanding as a big, tall key forward on debut. West Coast just too strong in the end. Team rating 53.78 to Gold Coast 48.34, so not a massive difference. One of the major differences is Ella Roberts in that first quarter, especially, but throughout most of the game was just a class above most others on the field on the night. And Lucia Painter on debut, her stretch from the 5.5 minute mark in the third quarter through to the 14-minute mark, kicked 3 goals in that period and absolutely turned it and kicked it behind as well. So could have kicked 4 goals in 8 minutes, which would have been even more crazy. Ended up with the NAB Rising Star. It's not NAB, whatever company sponsors the Rising Star in the AFLW. Got the Rising Star nomination this week, which I'm a little bit surprised about. Lucia was very good. There was a lot of good debutante performances this weekend, though. I think, personally, I would have probably gone towards Zippy Fish, but take nothing away from Lucia Painter. Really good performance. Brownlow votes goes 3 for Ella Roberts. I think clearly best on ground. Lucia Painter gets 2 from me. This would be an F, not Brownlow, obviously. And then 1. I've gone Lucy Single. I'm not convinced on who gets the 1. I reckon there's probably 10 players all in line that could get votes in this game. I think the top 2 were the best 2, but there's at least a handful of players that could get that 1 vote. I went Lucy Single. Just based on what I saw on the night. MVP vote, for the winning team. Ella Roberts, clearly the highest rated player on the ground in this one, was absolutely outstanding throughout most of the game. Ended up with a rating of a 131.74, which was the 6th highest rated performance of the weekend. A lot of that was done in that first quarter. Jessica Retch, outstanding performance. Really good defensive performance as a general defender. 11 tackles in this one to go with 12 disposals. Used the ball really well throughout the match. Lucia Painter, as we said, kicked those 3 goals in the third quarter. Really just solidified the match in favour of the Eagles. 4 votes goes to Emma Swanson. Another good performance there. 17 disposals. And Charlotte Thomas gets the 2 votes as another general defender who used the ball really well. 18 touches going at 89%. Solid performance there. For Gold Coast, their highest rated player was their debutant, Havana Harris. Key forward. Ended up with obviously pinch hitting in the ruck as well a little bit. 16 disposals though, 4 tackles, a clearance. Kicked that goal in the final quarter. Really good performance on debut. 6 score involvements to lead the ground, equal with Ella Roberts. Really, really good performance there. Charlie Rowbottom gets the 4. Consistent name up in the top 5 for Gold Coast over the last couple of years, and I would imagine we'll see a lot of that this year. Far from Charlie's best game that we've seen from her over her career so far, but I think we'll really, really see some improvement over the coming weeks from Charlie. 3 goes to Kiara Bishka. A good performance there as a key defender in this one. 12 disposals, really good user of the ball, defended quite well. Seeing they were under the pump at certain periods of this game. 2 votes goes to the McLaughlin. Good performance there, 16 touches. And 1 vote to Charlotte Wilson, another key defender. So a lot of defenders for Gold Coast. A lot of key position players played well for Gold Coast as well. I don't think it was the worst performance of all time from them. 2 goals, 8. If they had kicked a little straighter, they definitely would have been a little bit more closer to the late in this game, and who knows what would have happened. But as it stands, West Coast, really good start to their season. 2 years in a row, they've won their opener on opening night. They beat Richmond last season. Gold Coast, it was not the performance of a team that is going to come last, I don't think. I think we can see wins in their season, certainly from this. I think they look better so far than they did early season last year. So we'll see how that plays out over coming weeks. But certainly not the worst start to their season. They were well and truly in this game for periods of it. We moved to Friday night football. There was just the one game on Friday night, and it was Sydney hosting Richmond. This was at North Sydney Oval. And the Swans got the job done in a game where they, certainly in the second half, absolutely controlled it. It was kind of goal for goal in the first half. Chloe Malloy kicked a couple, had 2 at half-time. They led by 9 points at half-time, the Swans, and then took it over in the third quarter. They kicked 4 goals in the end to just 1 in that third quarter. Once again, Chloe Malloy just doing a lot of damage. Holly Cooper also popping up for a couple. Final quarter was a bridge too far. 27 points down with the Tigers going into the final quarter. They played okay. They kicked 2 goals to 1 to win the final quarter. But that third quarter did the damage. They probably wouldn't have been within range anyway. But I think that was probably what we kind of expected this result to kind of look like. Massive performance from Chloe Malloy in her return from injury. Obviously did the ACL after round 1 last year, so missed pretty much the whole of season 2024. Came back with a bang here. Kicked 4 goals. A really good performance. Team rating 62-3 for the Swans, 49-5 for the Tigers. So a fair discrepancy in the team ratings in this game between the two teams. The B&F, League B&F, we've gone 3 votes, Chloe Malloy. Kicked those 4 goals, as we said. Every time the ball went forward, Chloe was just there and looking very dangerous. Tudum, Monique Conti was outstanding. Clearly Richmond's best player here. 32 touches. When Mon is on the ground that she's going to be getting a lot of the ball. 7 tackles, 4 clearances. 22 contested out of the 32 as well. So was very important for Richmond in keeping them in this one. And 1 vote goes to Zippy Fish on debut. 116.98 was Zippy Fish's rating on debut. Outstanding performance. 26 touches running off the back line. 549 metres gained, which was the most on the field. Really good ball use at 70%, which is pretty solid for that amount of disposals. 11 rebound 50s, 9 intercepts. Just a fantastic performance on debut, in my opinion. MVP votes, once again, for the winning team. Zippy Fish rated the highest with 10 votes here. Outstanding performance. 8 goes to Chloe Malloy for 4 goals. 6 goes to Laura Gardner, obviously the inside mid, who was probably one of their higher-rated players throughout most of last season. 91.68 was Laura's rating in this one. Jazz Grierson is 4 votes for this one as a key defender. And Tanya Kennedy in the midfield gets the 2 votes. For the Tigers, highest-rated player on the ground. I think second highest-rated player of the whole round, so of the whole, I guess, AFLW season so far, was Mon Conti. A 155.48 outstanding game. Didn't probably get enough support outside of Ellie McKenzie, who was really good. 116.8 was the rating there, so 4 votes. 3 goes to Rebecca Miller. as the key defender, 2 to Jody Hicks, general defender, and 1 to Caitlin Greiser, key forward. Kicked an absolute ripper goal that didn't get probably enough airtime, I don't think, but really good performance there. Gets the 1 vote. That's that game. Sydney 2 strong. Really great start to their season. For the second year in a row, the Tigers lose their opening match. We move on to Saturday football, and it was Geelong North Melbourne. Geelong trying to step it up, I guess, with the big boys, or the big girls, and Kangaroos just too good. Absolutely too good. The first quarter was really tight. It ended up being level at 12-all at quarter time. Just the 1 goal in the second quarter that went the way of the Kangaroos. And there was a long period without a score after that. There was a goal, as I said, a minute 29 into the second quarter. There wasn't another goal until the opening minute of the final quarter. It was just 6-point margin at 3-quarter time. But boy, oh boy, did the Kangaroos come out of 3-quarter time absolutely flying. 30 seconds in, Bo got a goal. Bella Edie got 1 2 minutes later. And then Bogey got another not long after that. It was just pretty much one-way traffic in that final quarter. 5 goals, 1 to 1-1. Kangaroos just too strong in the end, as, I mean, most people probably expected them to be. They were absolutely dominant last year. They've potentially got stronger than they were last year as well. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out this year, whether anyone can catch them, but they certainly are looking dangerous at the moment. Kangaroos rating in this one was a 60.43. Geelong was a 47.52. BNF votes, Jasmine Garner, absolutely outstanding as always. Support act from Ash Riddell, who was very good as well. And 1 vote goes to Geelong's best player, Georgie Prespakis, in this one. We move to MVP votes for this game. And for the winning team, first, Jazz Garner. A 145.74 All Aussie Rules rating, 25 touches, kicked the opening goal. Fantastic performance. 8 goes to Ash Riddell. 28 touches. Another good performance, as always, from Ash. Libby Birch gets the 6 votes for the Kangaroos. Really good performance down back. Kim Rennie in the ruck gets the 4 votes. And the 2 votes goes to Amy Smith in the inside mid role as that third inside mid for the Kangaroos in this match. For Geelong, Georgie Prespakis was number 1 rated player, 22 touches. Michaela Bowen was their next best in the forward line, 4 votes. 3 votes goes to Georgie Rankin, 2 to Rachel Kearns, and 1 to Claudia Gunjaka. All 3 of those bottom 3, the 3, 2, and 1, all defenders in this game for Geelong. They were under the pump for big chunks of this one. But basically, the takeaway from this game, Kangaroos really, really strong performance. Cats, I think we'll see much better from them in the coming weeks against maybe some easier opposition. It was a really tough start to their season. As they had last year, their first 4 or 5 games last year were really tough, and it put them behind the 8 ball. They are going to need to start winning some games. But you completely just write this one off and forgive. It was certainly not a bad performance. To be within a kick at 3-quarter time against the reigning premiers is a really solid effort, in my opinion. Next game up, we head to another outstanding performance. This one, the Bombers against the Giants, a absolutely ripping performance from the Dons. I believe their highest score in AFLW history for the Bombers. Ended up 13 goals, 785 to 311-29 against the Giants. The first quarter was a tight tussle. It was 12-10 at quarter time in favour of the Dons. But from early in the second quarter, they just flexed their muscle a bit. Holly Ridewood on debut sparked them a bit with a couple really good goals, especially the second one. They were up by 26 points at halftime, extended it out to 38 points at 3-quarter time. Ended up winning quite comfortably to the tune of 56 points. No surprise here that their rating is really high. Bombers 65.62. GWS a 50.89. Our BNF votes, we've gone Madison Prospakis for 3 votes, 2 to Georgia Nanscowen, and 1 to Holly Ridewood for her role on the wing in this game. MVP votes for the winning team, as we usually go to the winning team first, the Bombers. We start with Georgia Nanscowen, a 116.88 rating, 25 touches, really good efficiency rate, great game. Holly Ridewood on the wing was fantastic on debut. Kicked those couple goals, 15 touches, was very good. Sophie Alexander was the number 1 rated general forward in the competition this week. A really good performance there. Madison Prospakis gets the 4 votes for the Bombers here. Inside mid, had 26 disposals, really good performance. And the 2 votes, Grace Baloney for the Giants. Inside mid, played a good game. For the losing team, it was the Giants and Zali Goldsworthy, as was many times last year. A really good performance there. Inside mid, rated just over 100 at 100.8 to 19 disposals. Tani Evans was their next best, playing as a key forward. Catherine Smith, as a general defender, gets the 3 votes. Rebecca Beeson gets the 2 votes. And 1 vote goes to Cambridge McCormick for the Giants in the back line. Basically, it was a bad day for the Giants. They had a tough year last year. There was a little bit of hope for them this year, I think. But this was a bad way to start their season. Also, Alice Parker getting injured, and I believe she's out for the season, is another bad little bit from the game. It was not the day that the Giants wanted. They go down and play Collingwood this week. It's a big game for them. 2 teams that probably are expected to be very low on the ladder this year. They won't maybe get too many winning chances this year based on what we've seen for both these teams in opening round. So it's a big one if they want to get a win. The Bombers, they've started their season perfect. We did say in our pre-season preview that we have some slight hopes about the Bombers this year. I don't know if they can catch the top teams. Certainly Hawthorn and Kangaroos look a little bit ahead of them at the moment, but they're a team that I can definitely see playing finals and maybe even pushing towards top 4 potentially. So a really good start from the Bombers here. Moving on to the Saturday night game, it was Bulldogs Melbourne at the Whitten Oval, and the Demons put on a clinic, much more like the Demons we expected to see last year, but just didn't get. They've started perfectly here. They win this one 9-8 to 1-8, 48-point winners. First quarter was pretty close, as a lot of games this weekend, but as the game went on, it just got stronger and stronger in the Demons' favour, especially that third quarter, where they kind of put the foot to the floor and continued that on throughout the second half. Second half scoring in the end was 6 goals, 4 for the Demons to 0-4 for the Bulldogs. So dominated that second half. Team ratings 66.16 for the Demons, 50.39 for the Bulldogs. Controlled it, no doubt about it, for the Demons. League best and fairest votes for this game. We've gone 3 to Olivia Purcell, 2 to Tyler Hanks, and 1 to Shelley Heath. I don't know what I'm talking about. We'll jump into the ratings, MVP votes. Number 1 rated player in the AFLW round 1 in the All Aussie Rules rating system was Shelley Heath, who gets the 10 votes in the MVP here. A rating of a 158.7, 23 disposals at 70%. Played a really good game. Chuck in 8 tackles, 3 clearances, 13 contested possessions. Played a good game. 11 intercepts was probably one of the big stats. Crazily enough, Olivia Purcell was very unlucky not to be the highest rated player. Was second highest rated on the ground here, 8 votes. Had 33 touches at 73%, 7 intercepts, played a great game as well. Tyler Hanks, as the third inside mid, all playing great games for these Demons here. 29 disposals. 4 votes goes to Cade Hoare, who played full-time forward basically in this one for the Demons. And Paxi Paxman, one of the best names in the game, outside mid, gets the 2 votes. A long way off those top few players, but you kind of expect that because they were absolutely outstanding. For the Bulldogs, they really struggled. They only had 4 players in the top 15 and none of them in the top 3. Number 1 player for them for 5 votes is Brittany Gutnick. I made a meal of that name, but I'm sorry. General defender, 104 rating, 17 touches. 4 votes goes to Riley Wilcox. A solid performance as an outside mid. Had plenty of the ball. Well, not that much of the ball, but was really good with the ball. Then the next one, 3 votes to Jasmine Smith, who played maybe her best game of AFLW so far. Had 21 touches as an outside mid in this one. Solid performance. 2 votes to Ellie Gavalis as a general forward. And 1 vote goes to Sarah Pousty, also as a general forward. Bulldogs just outclassed. There's no doubt about it. They had a weird sort of season last year where they got flogged in quite a few games, but they also won games. So pretty much was how their season went. They either won the game or they got absolutely flogged. I still don't think they're quite there. They've got a bit of ground to make up on other teams. Melbourne are a team that went into last season probably expecting to play finals, had a really bad start to the year, got themselves going at certain points throughout the year, but just were a little bit off the pace. This is more what we expect from this Demons outfit, and they are going to be an interesting team going forward, another team that looks like they're playing some good football early season, so we'll see how that plays out throughout the rest of the year. We jump into Sunday games. This was the first of the big ones because both these two teams finished top 4 in the home and away season last year, and they were meeting up in Brisbane. It's the Brisbane Lions. It's Hawthorn Hawks, and the Hawks get the job done, winning this one by 4 points. Brisbane's poor kicking, 3-11. Hawthorn, not much better kicking, 4 goals, 9. What to say about it? Hawthorn, great start to their year. Brisbane, a little bit disappointing. It's not like they were flogged by any stretch of the imagination, though. So it was a solid game. It just wasn't quite good enough. This one, obviously, pretty low scoring. It was tight most of the way. Brisbane did but have the lead at quarter time by 4 points. Every other break was led by the Hawks. They were up by 9 at halftime. Still up by 7 at 3/4 time. Held on to a late surge from Brisbane. They had plenty of opportunities in that last probably 10, 12 minutes of this game. Just couldn't convert their opportunities, and they end up going down. Team ratings actually has Brisbane slightly ahead of Hawthorn. 51-19 for the Lions, a 49-04 for the Hawks. So closest game so far in the rating system. Not fantastic by either team, but a really tight game and a really good start to Hawthorn's season. B&F votes, Eliza West, we've given the 3 votes to, 2 to Jade Ellinger, and 1 to Tilly Lucas Rod for the Hawks. MVP votes for this game for the winning team, Hawthorn, 10 to Eliza West, a 121.96. 25 touches at 72%. 8 to Tilly Lucas Rod, running off that backline, 27 touches. Ainsley Kemp was Hawthorn's next best, so 6 votes. Good performance there from Ainsley as a general defender. 4 goes to Michaela Williamson as the outside mid, and 2 to Lucy Wales in the ruck. For the Brisbane Lions, 5 goes to Jade Ellinger, who spent most of the game as a general defender. Isabel Dawes in the midfield gets the 4 votes. Uluru Dwyer as the outside mid gets 3 votes. 2 to Natalie Grider in that defensive general defender role. and Alex Anderson, depending which way you go. Inside mid gets the 1 vote in this game for 21 disposals. Brisbane, disappointing start to their year. They'll bounce back over the coming weeks, you'd imagine. I think they've got a pretty tough run, but they're too good to fall away, I think. Hawthorn, perfect start to their year. Huge start to their year. I think they play Saturday night this week. Couldn't have started better, really, I don't think. Moving on to the next Sunday game, there's 2 to go. I accidentally clicked the wrong button then, but it was St Kilda Adelaide, and this is probably the first real big upset of the season. The Saints get the job done, 41-19. Some poor kicking from Adelaide in front of goal, but take nothing away from the Saints. They were really good in this. 2-1 in the first quarter. Second quarter was pretty quiet. Third quarter, though, Saints kicked a couple to lead by 20 points going into the final change. Adelaide couldn't kick a goal in the final quarter. St Kilda got one right on the siren through Hannah Priest to extend it out to that 22-point margin. Team ratings was a 56-9-1 for St Kilda, 54-4-7 for the Crows, so both teams pretty close to each other. Crows will be pretty disappointed as a team that's consistently in the top 4 to start the season. It was on the road, but to a team that finished quite low last year. To lose to them, not their perfect start to the year, that's for sure. 3 votes, Tiana Smith. 2 to Georgia Patrikos. I said the exact same thing twice. And 1 to Ebony Marinoff, last year's league best and fairest. Moving into ratings and MVP votes in this one. Well, wrong button again. For the winning team, St Kilda, Paige Trajan gets number 1 rated player, was number 1 rated key defender this round. A 125-38 outstanding game. 8 votes goes to Ella Friend, also as a defender. 6 goes to Tiana Smith as the inside mid for St Kilda with 24 touches. 4 votes to Nicola Stevens for the Saints. Good performance there. Once again, as a general defender, their backline were really outstanding in this one. And Georgia Patrikos as that outside mid, running mid with 27 disposals, played a good game. For the Crows, Ebony Marinoff slightly down on last year's rating, was a 107 though still. Had a lot of the football, tackled well, cleared well, just played Ebony Marinoff football. Gets 5, didn't have enough support though. Niam Kelly gets the 4 as a general forward. Madison Newman gets the 3 votes, 6th best on ground in this one. Not the start to her season that she wanted though. Brooke Tonen gets 2 votes as a general forward, and the 1 vote goes to Jess Allen in the ruck. Pretty much sums it up. St Kilda absolutely stoked with their start to the year. Adelaide Crows, not so much. 1 game left to look at from opening the first round. Then we go and look at our footy tips and how they went for this round 1. And then we'll jump into our round 2 preview. Port Adelaide, Fremantle was the final game of the round. And as we predicted in our preview, Fremantle are looking good this year. Port Adelaide made a prelim final last year. Fremantle got eliminated in the semi-final. But this was a fantastic performance from the Dockers. From the start, they kicked the first couple goals in the game in the first 4 minutes. Quarter time, it was still pretty close to kick in it. Half time, still only 11 points in it. Same margin at 3/4 time. And then it got within a kick early in the 4th when Caitlin Pope kicked one for the Power. But then all of a sudden, from the midway point through that final quarter, Fremantle pounded through 3 goals, 2 of them through Hayley Miller, just to settle it and finish the game strong to win by 22 points. Team rating 60.68 for the Dockers, 50.07 for the Power. Not the start that the Power wanted for this season. B&F votes, Kiara Bowers gets the 3 votes for the Dockers. 2 goes to Hayley Miller and 1 to Gabrielle Newton. And then our MVP votes for the winning team, as always. They had 5 of the best 6 players on the ratings in this game, the Dockers. They just had that class at the top that all performed really quite well. Emma O'Driscoll as the running defender, second best general defender in the competition this round. Outstanding game. 8 to Mimstrom in the ruck. Number 1 ruck in the game this round, as she was for this whole season last year. Gabrielle Newton inside mid was their next best, 6 votes. Kiara Bowers gets the 4 votes for the inside mid game there, another player with 22 touches, and 2 votes to Ashley Brazil, key defender, played a really good game. For the losing team, as was the case for many games towards the back half of last year, Abby Dowrick was Port Adelaide's best player. A 105.34 rating, 18 disposals. Solid performance there. 4 goes to Ashley Woodland, key forward. Played a good game, 17 touches, backup ruck. Played solid throughout most of it. 3 votes goes to Justine Mills Robinson, general forward. Played very solid game. 2 votes goes to Indy Tahu, key defender for the Power. And 1 vote to Tegan Gurmich, another defender that played a really good game. Just too many Port Adelaide players didn't match what the Fremantle players at the top did, basically, is the long and the short of it. Perfect start to Freo's season. An away win here. Port Adelaide, they've got to dig in. They have lost some players to injuries already, and they have to dig in and play some really good football over the coming weeks to get back to where they were hoping to be. I think they've got a winnable game this week from memory, or do they not? We'll get to that shortly anyway. Either way, when we do our match previews for next week. No, it's not a winnable game. They've got Kangaroos this week. For some reason, I was thinking they were playing the Bulldogs, but that's Richmond. We'll get into match previews very shortly. Let's check our tips from round 1. We started perfectly. Everything was going great. We had the Blues to win against Collingwood, which they did. Margin wasn't too bad. Eagles, we got the margin exactly right against Gold Coast. Swans won by a little bit more than that. They won by 20, but we get it right. Kangaroos, pretty close to the margin. Get that one right. Bombers won by a lot more than 11 points. Outstanding performance from them. Demons, they won quite comfortably. And then Sunday, it all fell apart. Brisbane ended up losing by 4 points. Adelaide lost by 22 points. And Port Adelaide lost by 22 points. I'm surprised. I can't remember, but I thought I would have tipped Fremantle because I was very big on Fremantle this season, but I don't know. Obviously, I didn't. We went 6-9 for the week. Not most outstanding start to the year. Just an FYI, if you're doing AFLW footy tipping, search up All Aussie Rules and join our tipping comp as well. It's not too late. That is all 9 games. We'll pause here for 2 seconds. You won't even notice. We're going to be continuing on this episode with preview of round 2. So we'll jump into that right now. Alrighty, round 2. This is what we have kicking off Saturday, so no Thursday or Friday games this weekend. I think that's mainly due to the AFL having the extra game on this weekend. We kick off Saturday afternoon at Victoria Park. It's Collingwood GWS. Both teams coming off a loss. Neither team expected to do great things this season. Big game for both teams, an opportunity for both teams to get their first win of the year, and one of probably not a huge amount of wins that they're expected to get. They haven't played each other since October 9, 2022, which was round 7. Collingwood won that one by 32 points. They'd met a couple times before that. GWS winning the previous 2 of them. Obviously, Collingwood coming off an opening game loss against Carlton. GWS opening round loss to the Bombers. I don't know if we make too much of either of those games. it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. It's in Victoria. It's a home game for Collingwood. You'd have to say they will be starting favourites. You'd expect them to probably win this. Based on what we saw from GWS, them losing Alice Parker as well. It's not an ideal start to their season. It wouldn't absolutely floor me if GWS were to win this. I think it'll probably be a pretty close game. I would be very surprised to see the final margin being more than 2 kicks in it, in all honesty. So that's how I see it. This will actually be the first AFLW game I go to this season. I'm looking forward to it. Collingwood v GWS. So we'll see how it goes, but Collingwood will be starting favourites. Jumping into the next one, straight after that, basically, kick off at 3:05. There's 2 games at 3:05. The first one is Melbourne St Kilda. This will be at Casey Fields on Saturday afternoon. Both teams coming off really good wins last week. Melbourne smashing the Bulldogs to the tune of 48 points. And St Kilda beating one of the top teams from last year in the Adelaide Crows by 22 points. At the moment, it looks like Melbourne is starting pretty strong favourites in this, which is a little surprising because St Kilda were very, very good last weekend. St Kilda did start last year really well as well. Granted, not against a team of the calibre of Adelaide, but I think they won their first 3 games and then lost their next 6 or something ridiculous. These 2 teams last met last year in round 7. Melbourne won it by 14 points. 2022 they met and Melbourne won that one by 26. They also met the other 2022 season and Melbourne won that one by 41 points. So a pretty solid commanding record Melbourne have over St Kilda. They were very, very good on the weekend against the Bulldogs, were the Demons. So I think it's fair that they're favourites. I'm a little surprised that as big a favourites as they are in this because St Kilda's win was very, very good. I think Melbourne are the team to beat in this matchup, but once again, it would not absolutely shock me if St Kilda put up a good fight after what we saw from them last weekend. The other game on at that same time is Gold Coast v Sydney. This will be up on the Gold Coast at People First Stadium. One of these teams won last week, one lost. Both teams pretty similarly placed. Obviously, Gold Coast one of the closer losses of the weekend and Sydney one of the closer wins of the weekend. It'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. Gold Coast travelled okay, played okay against West Coast last week, lost by 15 points. Sydney were very, very good against a team that played finals last year. Chloe Malloy back to her best. It's going to be hard, I think, for Gold Coast to win this. It's the sort of matchup that isn't very favourable for their first home game of the year. Obviously, Sydney had a really rough and tough year last year. They didn't win many games. But I think we're going to see a completely different Sydney Swans this year. Gold Coast actually beat Sydney last year. It was one of the only games that Gold Coast won last year. I think they were 1 win and a draw for the season. This was their only win, if my memory serves me correctly. So there's that in Gold Coast favour, but this Sydney team this year is a lot different, a lot better. They've got a lot of star power back, so this will not be easy for Gold Coast. 2023, they met in the finals, and the Swans won that one by 17 points, and the year before that, Gold Coast beat them to the tune of 34 points. I think Sydney will be starting favourites. I don't know if I'd be locking them in as the definite winners, but I think based on what we saw round 1, you'd have to say Sydney will be very hard to beat by most teams this season. Moving on to the next one, and this one is over in the West. This will be a 5:05 Australian Eastern Time kickoff. It will be obviously 3:05 local time. It's at Fremantle Oval, Fremantle Community Bank Oval in Perth. It's Fremantle v Brisbane. Massive, massive game for both teams. Fremantle coming off their road win against Port Adelaide last week. They get Brisbane this week. So first 2 games playing against teams that finished the final series in the top 4 to start their season. Not an easy run. If they were to knock off the Lions in this one, though, that would be an absolutely outstanding start to the Dockers season. Brisbane, however, they dropped this one after dropping the game to Hawthorn last week. Their season started really, really quite tough, 0-2, and it's a long. It's not a long season, but there's still 10 more home and away game seasons. 10 home and away games left this season. So plenty of opportunity to make the ground up, but it won't be the ideal start if Brisbane were to drop this one and go 0-2. They have not met since round 1 of the 2022 season, which was season 7. Brisbane won that one by 49 points. 2021, Brisbane won by 11 points. 2020, the third time ago that they played, Fremantle won that one by 18 points. It's going to be a fascinating game. Brisbane are starting favourites. I'm pretty hot on the Fremantle team at the moment. I think from what they had last year and their performances last year, the players that they've got back this year and added to their list, I think they are a team capable of competing with the top 4 teams. And this is a really good opportunity for them to show that early season by knocking over the Brisbane Lions at home. Next up, we head to Saturday Night Football. We head to Kinetic Stadium in Frankston. 7:15 kickoff. It's Hawthorn Carlton. 2 winners from round 1 going up against each other here. It's going to be a game that you'd imagine Hawthorn on paper are the team to beat. They are the short-priced favourites. These two teams have only met once, which was round 1 last year. And Hawthorn won that one by a comfortable 38 points on their way to finishing top 4 in the home and away season last year. Carlton, of course, missed the finals. Both teams won last week. Hawthorn, really good performance against a top team, winning by 4 points. Carlton beating last year's Wooden Spooners by 24 points. On paper, Hawthorn certainly looked the better team. Carlton looked like they have certainly improved from last season. They could be a team that's pushing towards the top 8 this year. Wouldn't surprise me to see this be a close one. But based on what we know of this Hawthorn team, they were very, very good at hawk ball last year. Their ball use has potentially got even better. If they can kick straight in front of goal, which they certainly didn't manage last weekend, they're going to be hard to beat by most teams, I think. And you'd imagine this is a really good challenge for Carlton. I think we'll find out a lot about the Blues this weekend on Saturday night, because if they can compete and win this game, that really puts them in that conversation for definitely top 8. If they have a bad performance here, it's not the end of the world, but I would imagine that, Hawthorn are going to be pretty strong favourites, and that's probably the way it goes. We move into Sunday football. There's 4 games on Sunday this weekend. We kick off at Icon Park, a slightly earlier start than originally expected. 12:35 kickoff. Richmond Bulldogs, Icon Park. This is another game that I will be going to. Richmond going to be starting pretty short favourites. No real surprise there. Coming off a loss against Sydney last week, they weren't terrible. It wasn't their best performance, but it's probably where I see Richmond at this year, probably mid-table. Bulldogs probably, based on what we've seen from them last year and so far this year, I don't see them being a team that genuinely competes in terms of finals. I think they're a team that probably don't even finish mid-pack. I think they're going to be bottom 6 sort of team. They certainly played that way last weekend against Melbourne. It's not the end of the world. They kicked 1 goal 8. If they kick, say, 5-4 in that game, it's certainly a lot more respectable. But, just what we've seen so far, I'm not hugely confident in this Bulldogs lineup. I think they're better than what they showed on the weekend. I don't know if that's going to be enough to beat the Tigers this weekend. They've only met 2 times in the history, these 2 teams. Last time was round 5 in 2022, which was actually the season 6 of the AFLW. Bulldogs won that one by 17 points. And then in 2021, the Bulldogs also beat them in round 9 by 13 points. So the Tigers have never beat the Dogs in the AFLW. But this is a very different team for both of these clubs. than walked out on the field that day. I couldn't tell you exactly how many players are the same, but I doubt there's too many. Ellie Blackburn's still at Bulldogs, Monconti's still at Richmond, but outside of those couple, there's a lot of changes. So it's been a while since they met. Is the long and the short of that. Richmond will start favourites. If they play their best football, they probably should win. But if the Bulldogs play their best football from last season, they also will be certainly in this matchup, I think. Next up, the next game on Sunday starts only half an hour later, just around the corner, really, at Arden Street Oval. It's North Melbourne. It's Port Adelaide, Kangaroos Power. Two teams that finished, or both made prelims last year. Obviously, Kangaroos went on to win the premiership. Port Adelaide losing in that prelim. Based on what we saw last weekend, it's going to be very, very difficult for the Kangaroos to lose this one. It is the preliminary final replay from last year. Kangaroos won that one by 57 points, and they were just too good, and they haven't got worse. So we'll see how that plays out. The previous two times these two teams met, they met in round 4 last year as well. Kangaroos won it by 36 points. And the time before that was round 7 of 2023, when the Kangaroos won by 63 points. So they've played 3 times in basically exactly 2 years. And every time Kangaroos have come out pretty comfortably winners. They were really good, especially late against Geelong last week. Port Adelaide, I won't say they were terrible. They played okay football. As I've said many times, I think Fremantle are a pretty decent team. So it's not a bad loss, but at home, being a preliminary final winner team from last year, they probably expected a bit more from them in that first game. We'll see how they bounce back, but this is just about as tough a challenge as they're going to get this year. Arden Street, North Melbourne, it's not going to be easy. Is basically the long and the short of it. We move into the next game. The second last of the round. It's a 2:35 kickoff on Sunday. Again, not that far away. It's over at Windy Hill for Bombers, Eagles, two teams that won last week. Two teams looking to go 2-0. It's going to be a fascinating matchup, this one. The Bombers are going to be reasonably short price favourites, and I think that's probably an accurate assessment of this match. I think West Coast was solid last week, but the Bombers were absolutely outstanding. They, as we went through earlier, absolutely smacked GWS. Whereas the Eagles just got through over the line on the Gold Coast Suns. History of this matchup, they met last year in round 2. The Bombers won it by 16 points. And then 2023, they met in round 8. The Eagles won that one by 4 points. And going back to round 3, 2022 in season 7, the Bombers won that one by 52 points. Absolutely smoked them. That was, I think, their previous best score in a game of football of AFLW until last weekend when they played GWS. So, Bombers, we'll see how they go. But from what we've seen so far, it would be very surprising to see the Bombers lose this one. I think they're showing some really good signs early season, and that was a fantastic performance from them last weekend. And I know West Coast have a lot of talent. Ella Roberts, obviously the number one of that. But on the road against a pretty solid team, it's going to be a tough one for the Eagles to go to 2-0. But at 1-1, they've still got their season right where they kind of need it if they want to be a team that pushes towards that top 8 this year. The final game of the round 2 is the exact opposite of the previous one. Two teams that lost opening round. 0-1. Both teams will not want to go 0-2. This is a fascinating matchup. Thomas Farms Oval, 3:05 on Sunday. It's Adelaide. It's Geelong. Crows will be short-ish favourites at roughly $1.30. And both teams need the win. Obviously, I think Geelong get a complete forgive. They played against the best team of the last season and a half last weekend. and only lost by 30 points. We're only a goal down at three-quarter time. So I think that's a fair spot for them, to be honest. Fair result for them. So I think Geelong probably take more out of opening round than Adelaide, who lost by 22 points to St Kilda. I would fully expect Adelaide to bounce back. They're one of the best teams in the competition. It's not doom and gloom for them. But one of these two teams is going to start 0-2 and have a lot of work to do to catch back up to the Crew. I think Adelaide should be too strong. They had 50 inside 50s last week against Hawthorn. They just couldn't convert up forward. If they can tidy against... They didn't play Hawthorn at all. They played St Kilda. They had 50 inside 50s. If they can convert a bit better, I would not be surprised to see them absolutely bounce back this week. They kicked 2 goals 7. They wasted a lot of chances. So I think Adelaide probably bounce back in this matchup. All we've got left to do is look at our tips for round 2. So we'll jump into them, but don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the follow button or subscribe depending what platform you're on. Make sure you hit up the YouTube if you're not watching this on YouTube. Plenty of content every single week. All the socials, all Aussie rules. Go check it all out. Let me know what you think. Let's jump into our footy tips for round 2. Obviously, we went 6-3 last weekend, 6 out of 9. This weekend, we're kicking off with Collingwood to win an absolute tight one against the Giants by 3 points. We've got Demons beating the Saints by 11 points. Swans going up to the Gold Coast and winning by 20. Fremantle, I'm going by 8 points over Brisbane to start 0-2. Hawthorn should be too strong for Carlton. I've got them by 17. Richmond over the Doggies by 28 points. Kangaroos beating Port Adelaide by 20 points. Bombers too good for the West Coast. Eagles at Windy Hill by 13 points. And Adelaide to bounce back with a 7-point win over the Cats. That's how I see round 2. Jump in the comments. Let me know who you have winning this weekend. If you're going to any games, I hope you enjoy it. I hope your team gets the win in the AFLW this weekend. A massive weekend, round 2 of the footy. Don't forget to come back. Next Thursday will be our next episode of the AFLW podcast. It'll be round 2 review as well as a round 3 preview. There will also be a men's episode going live on Monday afternoon. That will be episode 62 of the podcast, so come back, check that out. I hope you have a good weekend. This is the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast, and I'll catch you on the next one.